Hello. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and like the video to support the investigation. Now, let me tell you the story of a case that was sealed for 27 years, erased from every database, and connected to 3 dead detectives. This is The Last Witness. Ures. Chapter 1. The Disappearance. On November 4th, 1998, in a small town called Greyfall Ridge, a 14-year-old boy named Daniel Rourke vanished while walking home from school. It was only a 10-minute walk. He disappeared in the 5 minutes between his last sighting and his house door. There were no cars on camera, no suspects. No footprints, nothing. But the strange part was this. Daniel had told his best friend earlier that day that someone keeps watching me from across the road at night. The friend thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Ures. Chapter 2. The First Clue. 3 days after Daniel vanished, a VHS tape was mailed to the police station. No return address. Inside the tape, exactly 22 minutes of static, and then 4 seconds of Daniel standing in the woods. He wasn't moving. He wasn't speaking. Behind him, a tall figure wearing a coat with a silver stripe on the shoulder. The tape ended immediately after. The police identified the woods. They searched for 2 days. Nothing was there. Not Daniel, not the figure. Just a strange carving on a tree he sees at night. Ures. Chapter 3. The Pattern. One detective pulled archived missing person cases. Shockingly, 5 kids had vanished in nearby counties over the last 25 years. All boys, all between 13 and 15, all last seen walking home from school. And each case had one detail in common. Someone reported a tall man watching from across the street, days before the disappearance. But every single lead in those cases ended with the same note. Case discontinued, evidence inconclusive, except one detective refused to let it go. Ures. Chapter 4. Detective Hayes. Detective Arthur Hayes became obsessed with Daniel's case. He collected photos, pins, red strings, classic conspiracy board. His co-workers mocked him, but Hayes had one breakthrough: an abandoned cabin 3 miles from where Daniel was last seen. Inside the cabin, he found a single shoe that matched Daniel's size, just burned Polaroids, scratches on the wood floor, and a note that said, "He talks too much." Hayes radioed it in. 20 minutes later, he never responded again. They found his body 2 days later. In his car, no signs of struggle. Heart failure, but Hayes was 39 and healthy. Case ruled natural causes. Everyone knew it wasn't. Ures. Chapter 5. The Survivor. In 2004, a homeless man showed up at a hospital claiming he had escaped the night watcher. He was dehydrated, shaking, and terrified of shadows. He said he'd been held in a basement for years by a man who whispered every night, "I watch you even when you sleep." But he couldn't describe the man. Why? Because he said the captor always stood behind him, never in front. and whenever the man tried to turn around, he would hear a whisper, "Don't look." Police followed the man to where he claimed he escaped. No basement existed, just dirt, like it had been filled in recently. Ures. Chapter 6. Case reopened in 2017, 19 years after Daniel vanished. A mental health patient wrote a 12-page letter to the police. He said he was visited every night by the tall man with the silver stripe on his coat. He said the man asked him to deliver a message. Tell them Daniel is awake now. Police checked his background. He had zero connection to the case. No internet access. No TV. No way to know anything. Yet he also described the carving in the tree perfectly. The same words from 1998. He sees at night. Ures. Chapter 7. The Digital File. The last major breakthrough came in 2020. Retired officer leaked a file containing images from Hayes's investigation board. One photo stood out. A blurry figure standing behind a child in a grocery store security camera. The child was Daniel. The timestamp was 1 day before he vanished, and the figure's coat had a distinct silver stripe on the shoulder. 2 enhancements of the footage were done. In the second enhancement, the figure's face turned slightly, and then the enhancement tech stopped the process and refused to finish it. He said he saw no eyes, just darkness. Ures. Chapter 8. The Man Who Shouldn't Exist. A journalist investigated the silver stripe coat. It belonged to a discontinued uniform from a private security company that shut down in 1972. But 3 witnesses reported seeing a man wearing that same coat in 1991, 1998, 2004, and 2017. The man would look older in some sightings, younger in others, almost like he didn't age normally. Every witness described the same thing. He never blinked. Ures. Chapter 9. The Final Witness. 6 months ago, a video surfaced online for 2 hours before being deleted. A shaky recording of a boy in a dark basement. Behind him, a man's silhouette, a hand on his shoulder, and a whisper, "Don't look." The boy wasn't Daniel. Police tracked his identity. He was reported missing 11 days earlier when they searched the house where the video was traced. The basement was filled in again, just like 2004. Ures. Chapter 10. The Last Message. 3 weeks ago, a letter arrived at Greyfall PD. No name, no return address. Just one sentence. You stopped looking for Daniel. I didn't. The handwriting matched none of the suspects. The fingerprints matched no one in the database. But the DNA trace? It matched Daniel Rourke. A child missing since 1998. Impossible. Unless Daniel never died. Unless someone kept him alive. Unless something else was happening. Ures. Ending. This is why the case remains sealed. This is why the files were buried. This is why every detective who got close either vanished, died, or quit the force. There are too many questions and not enough answers. But one thing is certain. Someone or something still walks the streets of Greyfall, Ridge wearing a silver-striped coat, and he only comes out when the sun goes down. If you want part 2, subscribe, like, and comment.